Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be showing you Rinse, an alternate build I've made using the parts from the LEGO Creator set number 31128, Dolphin and Turtle. And so to move that back, so to start things off, we'll be taking a look at the overall design of this character. So I will say that overall it is a rather simplistic build. Turning her around, here we do get a good look from the back. Not a whole lot of not really any super complex building techniques used for this one. But let's move on to the details and design. So I do think the head turned out quite interesting with this whole headdress thing and all. Does help make at least some parts of her stand out. And speaking of standing out, due to the design and parts limitations of this rather small set, she really doesn't have much for arms. She kind of got these pauldron things, these paddle fin things that kind of look like shoulder armor. But in terms of actual arms, in terms of actual arms, what I like to do is basically rotate this outwards and up like that to basically form these sort of water guns from the ends of these sort of stumpy things that I call her arms. It's a tad bit weird, but I do at least it helps make her stand out a bit. So that's neat. The torso, there's really not much to talk about the torso. It's really just a very standard, a basic torso build. Not much to talk about there. Moving on to the legs, I do find that the legs turned out a-okay. A-okay. It's a rather lightweight It's a rather a neat complex. Not complex. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Rinse. Rinse is not complex at all. I do like the sort of slender, thin, sort of slender and sleek look at the legs. Does help make an interesting silhouette. So at least there is that. So with the water gun things that she has for arms that can flip out to bring out more of that color scheme. And with the legs, and of course the head, it's a rather interesting look for a build as simple as this. Yeah, rather neat. In terms of articulation, it's rather simple. Do have a simple ball joint here, can look down and up that far, and of course can tilt that side to side and rotate. The arms are basically just these fin things on these ball joints, so you can rotate around and pose them however. Can swing them around to form these water guns, of course. Or you can have them sort of foiled back kind of like fish fins, sorta. So the torso, she does have a sort of ab crunch and arcing back. That does range a good bit. This is a small little building, a torso build that I somewhat pulled from my previous alternate build from this set. I do find that it does work rather well for articulation. The hips are on a simple ball joint, so they can rotate up and back, and also out and swivel around. A good amount of range of motion in the hips. The knees are also on a pretty, can also bend pretty deep, can also swing back pretty deep mostly due to transformation, but yeah, it also makes for a good point of articulation. And while you can rotate these green parts around to create an ankle tilt, like the build overall is rather lightweight, so that like point of articulation is really not needed to pull off poses like this. And as far as like other accessories go, I've also with like leftover parts I've made, I've also put this thing together. It's a sort of like a small little like display thing, really used as like a sort of like display stand. Yeah, it really uses like a display stand. You can like, I guess you can like connect the studs onto a rinse to give her a sort of swimming, give her a sort of back swimming, sort of like laying on her back swimming motion. But this is not like the mode that I really created this thing for. And that's more so for her alt mode. But before we get into that, let's do a little bit of a size comparison to show you how like overall sized this little build is. And while overall it's a pretty lightweight build, it is like not exactly short by any means. Like I don't think Rinse is by any means as short as, say, Bubbly, but to bring you like some size comparisons, here she is next to a minifigure. So not quite short. And for other comparisons, here she is next to one of my previous alternate builds. Yeah, so not exactly short, but definitely a light and not at all complex build. Oops. But with that, let's now get into the transformation. So I am quite excited for this one. So, first step, rotate these green parts 1/8 up like that, swivel them up like that. Then rotate the head so that the back of this head crest is facing forward. Then what we do is we rotate these arm things and basically rest them on the head, like so. Then after that, we just after that, we just fold the legs up on the sides of the torso, like so. Make a couple of adjustments to the legs and arms and things. And after that, that's basically it. It's a rather simple transformation. It's a rather simplistic transformation. And here we have Rince in her sort of speedboat sort of mode. And I will say I am pretty happy with how this vehicle mode turned out. I think it looks really nice. And it's the sort of sleek, curvy nature, curvy look of the boats. Looks great. The green integrates rather nicely. You even have the details from her chest to form the sort of a canopy. It's the sort of cockpit, windshield sort of look. Rather nice, rather sleek, rather smooth. Here's a look at the build from the underside. Rather nice. And I also do quite enjoy how the sort of water guns from her arms sort of form the sort of propeller, so propulsion, the jets or propulsion for the boat. Does make it look rather interesting, rather neat. And this is really the mode that I had pretty much built this thing for, because if I lay it down and basically connect the studs on this stand piece onto the anti-studs at the back here, and here, here we have a good look at Rince's boat mode. Right here. I do find it to look rather nice. Yeah, the robot mode looks... her robot mode I do find looks rather unique. But I am quite impressed with how her vehicle mode turned out. Looks rather nice. And to quickly bring over a size comparisons before I wrap things up. Here she is next to the minifigure. Whoops. Both with and without the stand. So now it's a sort of micro scale sort of. So I guess it's a more micro scale sort of boat mode. But I do think it did turn out really nice overall. And yeah, that's about it. It's rather simplistic for one of my alternate builds, but I do think it turned out rather nicely. And of course, I will be showing you how to build Bubbly. Not Bubbly. Rince. Yeah. Bubbly is a previous alternate build I've made with this set. But yeah, I will of course be showing you. I will of course eventually show you how to build Rince, and how to put her together. Even though it's not really that complex anyway, you might be able to figure out from the video itself. But I will of course do that regardless. But until then, I think that'll be it for this alternate builds video. If you enjoyed this video, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.